Welcome back. This is the 90s Tech, and this is part 3 and the final part of the 486 build. I've been having a lot of fun with this project, and this is going to be the end. We're going to put all this stuff inside and boot it up, install DOS, and we'll go from there. My hope is that this video is not too terribly long. Try and keep it under 20 minutes. We'll see if I manage to do that or not. So what are my parts? So I recently made my how to clean a 3.5-inch floppy drive video. So hopefully you see that. If not, go ahead and check my other videos and it will hopefully be there by the time you watch this. This is a 1.4 meg floppy drive, of course. This is a 1.2 meg 5.25-inch floppy drive, which I've already cleaned. And I didn't do a video on that one. I do apologize, but I have another 5.25-inch drive that I will be cleaning, and I'll do a video on that one soon. Over here is a 3-com Etherlink 3. This is a 3C509. Yep. I don't know if I'm really going to be able to use this much, but you know, doing stuff with packets always fun. So I like to try and put a network card in most of the things that I build. And then this is a Sound Blaster 16 value model CT2770. And I happen to know that it works really well in this computer. So this is what's gonna go in there. Is it the nicest, bestest, most wonderfulest sound card ever to exist? Absolutely not. But it will definitely get the job done, especially for what I'll be doing. I can't remember where I found this one, but I think I got it off eBay, but I can't remember. And then finally, I 3D printed a little bracket off Thingiverse. It's not red for any other reason than that's what the filament was that was in my printer at the time. And there's a couple of different brackets on Thingiverse for this SD to IDE adapter here. But this is the one that I've really found seems to work the best. And the only change I made, if I flip this around and hopefully the camera will focus, there's an extra little bit of reinforcement right here. So I took this STL file into Tinkercad, do a search for that. It's an online CAD program and actually works shockingly well, especially for functional stuff where you need to add a square or a bar or a circle or something like that. For something that's more artistic, like a little figure or something like that, it's not quite so good. But again, I just added this little bar right here to just stiffen up the expansion slot a little bit. So it's still a little bit weak here on the ear, but it'll be all right. And I have had really, really good luck with these. They've worked wonderfully for me. I haven't had any problems at all with them. I know eventually, you know, an SD card's gonna wear out and die, but in such a light duty cycle as this, where these machines, you know, they sit and they don't get used for a while, and then it's like, oh, I want to use my 486, and so I'll pull this one out and it's fine. If, you know, if this was everyday use, no, I wouldn't trust something like this. I would get like an IDE SSD or something like that. So anyway, those are my main parts. And then if we pan over here to the 486, this is the 486 build as you see it. Now, confession, this is kind of a redo. I had actually already shot all this stuff, including like an hour of me figuring certain things out because I haven't done this in so long. And the Super I/O controller and the Trident TGUI 9440 VLB card are already installed, and I didn't really want to take them out just to put them back in because those VLB slots are flippin' tight. So I'm just leaving those in here and just pretend that I installed them already or something like that. So one other thing that I did is, it's a little hard to see, but there is a 60mm fan that I've installed right here since there's a spot for one. It's really not necessarily needed. The case has a front fan up front and behind that cool dust filter, and it works pretty darn well. And then of course the power supply itself has a fan in it, a relatively nice quiet fan that moves a decent amount of air, which really surprised me considering this is some no brand King Star from, you know, 25 years ago. That's what we're gonna do. I've already got the you can see back here in the background, I've already got the brackets for the 5¼ inch hardware, so those are just going to snap right in. Unfortunately, as I mentioned in a previous video, I don't have the rails for this top one, or I would heavily consider putting something up here, maybe a zip drive or an LS120 or something if I can find one, you know, put it in an adapter. But that's where we are. So let's go ahead and get this built. So we're going to go for a little bit of a different camera angle this time around. So I've got the camera up as high as it'll go, pointing down at the computer. And let's get my desk light here, brighten things up a little bit. And let's go ahead and install things. Oh, one other thing I want to mention that I learned from the previous build is I actually had to take one of the memory card, one of the SIMs out, because having 2 SIMs in there and 64 megabytes of RAM and a 46, which is apparently way more than I should ever possibly need as a 46. I get that. So I had to take one of those out because it conflicts with memory space, as I understand it. I'm not a programmer, okay, but it conflicts with memory space that the graphics card driver needs. It apparently likes to live at somewhere around 56 megabytes or something like that. So I could add like a smaller memory card to go along with the 32 meg, but I'm just going to leave it in there as one. And somebody else also mentioned that I didn't have any L2 cache installed. That is coming in a separate video. I want to play some games on this, get a feel for frame rate, things like that, and then put the L2 cache in and see how it performs, see what the differences are between with and without cache. You know, if Descent 2 is like barely playable on something like this, but maybe it's totally playable with a L2 cache installed. So we'll find out. And then other than that, I've got a couple of different serial port headers in here. Right now I've got the 25-pin serial header, which is not hooked up at the moment. I am actually going to swap this out for the 9-pin. I'm going to unplug this one. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So we're going to unplug the 9-pin, and we're going to plug in the 25-pin, because also in a future video, I have a 25-pin device that I want to plug into the back of this beast. So that's now there. And I'm just going to leave this in here because, for now at least, because it covers up a slot, and also there are times where I need a 9-pin and I can come in here and fairly easily change it. So we're just going to kind of leave this. And this computer is plugged in. It's off, obviously, and this is just so that the entire system is grounded. And you want to keep your ground even, so when you grab a piece of hardware from off camera and bring it in, it's good to be touching the case at the same time. So it just helps a little bit. I've personally never had any trouble with zapping anything, except one time when I was using a paintbrush to dust off a motherboard, and I guess it generated static electricity, and unfortunately I killed the motherboard, which made me very sad. So we're gonna go ahead and put the sound card way up top. And yeah, we're gonna put the sound card way up top, mainly because it's very close to the processor. All right, sound card installed. Network card is next. It just occurred to me that I never completed my last thought, and I'm bad about that, but this is actually a re-record. And the reason why I had to do that is because I lost the video that I recorded from part 3, a huge chunk of it anyway. So I was like, you know what? I learned a lot during the last recording, so I'm just gonna go ahead and re-record the whole thing. So some stuff seems a little prepped already, and that's just because I actually kind of mostly took this apart just to put it back together again in front of the camera. So, all right, so let's go ahead and screw these in. Where are my screws? And I'm just trying to get these lined up on the back so they look a little pretty. So I'm looking at how the various ports on the back of these cards are lining up with the expansion slot on the back of the case. And lastly but not leastly is our storage solution. This one's gonna go up top since I got a spare slot here. All right, so now if you print one of these, and especially if you're using PLA like I did, because that's all I print with for now, ABS and other more exotic materials is something I'm not ready to deal with. But you want to get this snug, but you don't want it so tight that it breaks your print. So it's in there pretty good, and that extra little bit of reinforcement really helps when you're snapping the SD card in and out. So it'll still flex a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. So yeah, so I think we're in pretty good shape there. And this also gives me a lot of room to work with my IO controller. CD-ROM drive has an extra little fiddly bit here with the Redbook audio cable. Oh, that's satisfying. That's in there really good too. For some no brand case, or Tiger, I guess, I don't know. It says Tiger, oh, on the bottom here. Tiger F5 200P2, but this might have had a Pentium 2 in it, but so who knows. But it's a cool little case. I like it a lot. So let's go ahead and now take our floppy drive. I always like to put the CD-ROM drive up high if I can. So that snaps in nice. That's great. And then finally, we need our 3.5-inch drive, which is going to go in this way. And the keen-eyed might notice the little black dots. And that's because this is exactly where this needs to be. There's quite a bit of play here, up and down, which isn't great, but I'm hoping I can just get it right in the center and I won't have to redo it. But we're just gonna snug these down, and thankfully this whole bracket goes in through the front. All right, I didn't put the drive in upside down. You never know. Get excited, you start building. Plug stuff in upside down, sideways, backwards. And you're like, why doesn't it work? Alright, so before we put this in, and this is gonna block a little bit, so before I put this in, I'm gonna run my cables from up here, down through the slot, and then down into the main area of the case. And then the CD-ROM drive down here is going to go on the second port of the Super I/O controller, because this one is on the ISA bus and I want the SD to IDE to go on to the VLB, so it gets a bit more bandwidth. And pin 1 should be right here, like that. This is going to be a mess. All right, and then we have our floppy drive. All right, so just remember, drive A is after the twist, so something to keep in mind. So the way this needs to go is I want the, even though it's above, I want the 5¼ bay to be drive B. Most importantly, we want to try and keep the CPU cooler, give it some air. Again, this is only like a 5-watt part, so it's not like it's gonna be belting out tons of heat. And then finally, we have our little mini IDE, and this one's gonna go, let's see, pin 1 is here. Again, trying to keep this at least somewhat tidy. This is not a cable select cable because it has no notch. Boom. Okay. I remember what I said about not blocking the CPU cooler. Well, it's got some air and it's got this fan up front, so I'm not really too worried about it. And that's it. We just need to wire up some power, which we are going to do next. So I think how I want to do this is I'm going to run this one with the fan wire on it around the back, and then that will plug into the floppy drive, the upper floppy drive. And this one here will plug into the CD-ROM. So we've got power, we've got data, we've got our I/O controller populated, floppy drive time. There's some little rails here, there we go. Oh yeah, this one's kind of weird. So we'll do this upper one first, because I forgot that the power is above the data floppy ribbon port, which is strange. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, I think. Okay, whew. At first I thought it was a proprietary connector, but it is not, so that's good. And then we'll take this guy. I was trying to hide this a little bit. All right, and pin 1, if I am led to believe, there's a 2 like on the far side, on the left side basically, of the drive. All right, we are pressed in, and that's not bad. Honestly, I think that's a little better. I think that's a little better than the first time I did this, so that's pretty great. So let's power it on and let's make sure that it works. All right, so we got 32 megs of RAM and we have a keyboard error. The keyboard I'm using is this little guy here. It's a pretty sweet little keyboard, actually. I got this at the Vintage Computer Festival down in San Jose, as I am located in the San Francisco Bay Area. And yeah, it's just a cool little keyboard. It's not a 10 keyless. They kind of move some stuff around. And I'm using my trusty Ball Microsoft Serial Mouse. So anyway, for some reason with this keyboard, it says keyboard error, but then you can go ahead and hit F1. Hey, there we go. All right, this is so cool. I love AMI WinBIOS's. Do a little auto adjust here. Good enough. The mouse even works. All right, so that's just gonna go ahead and detect the drive. This will not detect the CD-ROM drive. I need to set up MSCDEX for that. Or not MSCDEX, yeah, CD-ROM.sys or whatever it is, so. But yeah, so this is wrong, actually. I just realized that there is no SD card in here, so this is just detecting like a default size. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Sees the SD card. So the IDE to SD card adapter thingy works a lot better when you give it power. I'm actually amazed that it lit up just given whatever small amount of power is coming off the IDE cable. But yeah, so now that works. That's great. So let's save and exit. Hey, there we go. Reasonably loud floppy drive, could be louder. All right, so we are setting up MS-DOS. So in order to do this, first thing we need to do is get into FDisk. So to do that, we're gonna hit F3. And F3. All right, so let's see what's on here. Non-DOS. So we're gonna delete partition. Non-DOS. Yes, yes, Non-DOS deleted. Create partition, primary. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Do you wish to use a maximum available size? Yes. All right, now we reboot. There we go. This is how it's supposed to behave. All right, so this little Patriot drive I was using here doesn't seem to work, but it does like these little SanDisk 8 gig cards, which is ironically what I tend to buy in like 4 and 5 packs. So now we're gonna go ahead and make a extended partition, which is 5.2 gigs. Absolutely massive amount of space for a 486. It's kind of amazing this works at all. And oh, yep, so now we'll make a bunch of logical drives. So that'll be our drive. The previous one was our drive C. This is our drive D, E, F. Okay. And reboot. Just to be safe, I'm not sure if this is needed, but we're gonna do fdisk mbr. And that will set up the master boot record on our C drive. And then we'll go back into setup. Oh, formatting SD cards. This is nice. Remember back in the day, you'd format your C drive and reinstall, and you'd sit here for like an hour formatting your like tiny like 100 megabyte hard drive or whatever you had back then, or whatever I had at least, was always tiny hand-me-down stuff. There we go. Oh, it wants to format all of them. Yeah, sure. All right, format complete. This all looks correct. Date and time look correct. CDOS run. CDOS jump over the lazy windows. Okay, we're gonna remove the drive, floppy disk, and press enter. MS-DOS62 is now installed on your computer. Restart. To restart your computer with MS-DOS62, press enter. Oh, that takes a little while. All right, we are booted to DOS. Amazing. All the DOS things, pretty cool. We go to the D drive, see there's nothing there. E drive, nothing there too. F drive, more nothing. And the keyboard layout's weird. Nope. All right, DOS is installed. Let's move on. All right, for the video, it's been a few seconds, but for me, it's actually been an entire week. Was hoping to get this video done last weekend, but just kind of ran out of time, so we're gonna resume. Last couple things we need to really do is just set up DOS and install a few games and see how they play. And then I think we'll be done with this series. So as you can see, we've got everything we need. We've got our serial ports, we've got our floppy drives, we've got our processor. I do have some more future videos planned for this 486, including a video card upgrade. I have a Cirrus Logic that I want to check out, and then I have also got some level 2 cache to install. So I think that should actually be a pretty substantial upgrade. I'm also going to be really curious to see what the Cirrus Logic can do in, say, Windows 95 or even Windows 3.1 versus the Trident TGUI 9440 that I have in here right now. So, but again, that's for another series of videos, but this is going to be the tail end of our 3-part, kind of 3.5-part series in building this 486. So let's finish this thing up. All right, first thing, a big shout out to my inspiration, one of several YouTubers that I am a huge fan of, and this one is Phil of Phil's Computer Lab over down under in Australia. If it wasn't for him, a lot of this stuff would actually honestly be a lot harder. So one of the things that he's done for the community is he has made an MS-DOS starter pack. He also has one for FreeDOS if that's how you want to roll. So what I have done, one of the reasons why I like to use this SD to IDE adapter is because it allows me to easily shut the computer down, take the SD card out, put it in my modern computer, running Windows 10, copy some stuff onto it, and then put it back in the computer. Where I can, and where I think it's appropriate, I'll use the floppy drive. But for larger files like game installs and things like that, it's just so much easier to just take that little SD card out. The other way to do it with a traditional hard drive or even an SSD is to shut the computer down, take the SSD out, put it in an enclosure. It's just no fun. So what we're gonna do is go over to one of the other drives, and I don't remember which one this ended up in, and please forgive my typos. Again, I'm using that little reduced size keyboard with a little bit of a goofy layout, so please forgive my typos in advance. So I believe we need to go to the E drive. Nope, F drive. Hey, there we go. So as you can see, I've got a directory here called Phil's. And these are zips that you get. By the way, if you just do a web search for Phil's Computer Lab, you'll find all of his details and tools and all kinds of stuff from DOS to XP and everything in between. Lots of hard to find drivers and stuff like that too. I'll put a link down in the description of this video directly to his starter pack as well as his website in general. So take a look for that. So I don't have any kind of unzip utility in DOS. This is a bare bones install right now. So I went ahead and unzipped those files, and just remember this is DOS, so keep your directories less than 8 characters. All right, so we've got some files here we're gonna have to copy one at a time. So we're going to copy auto exec C:\\. And in this case, I'm gonna say yes. There's really nothing in there that we need. All right, now we'll do the same thing. Copy config sys C:\\. Yep, let's gonna overwrite that one also. I can't remember where CT mouse goes. I believe it's supposed to go in a directory called drivers. So let's make a directory called drivers. Oh my gosh. Okay, and then we're going to copy. Oh, he's got a batch file that does all this. Well, oh well. At least it probably does, but we're just gonna ignore the batch file. So we're going to copy ctmouse.exe. For you Linux users out there, you really miss tab to complete when you're in DOS. All right, and we're gonna copy video dcc.sys. Oh, no, it's vide dc cdd.sys. drivers. Did I get that right? Okay. So this is now our basic setup. It's also going to call MSCDEX to identify the CD-ROM, although I think I need to make a tweak to that setting because the CD-ROM is not going to be drive D, it's going to be CDEF, it's going to be drive G. So let's go back to the C drive and see if I can remember. This is starting to look like a setup computer. So let's edit. Whoops. Oh, no mouse driver yet. I don't remember where this is going to be, so let's check auto exec bat first. Okay, so this load high MSCDEX. Now, I remember that D colon does not, if I remember correctly, that is a switch. That does not indicate a D colon. So I think there's a way to go find that. So let's quit. And let's go to, actually I don't think I need to do that because I think it's in the path. If I do MSCDEX / question mark. Ah, -L. And then drive, or /L drive letter, okay. So again, we have C, D, E, F. So if I go C, D, G, good. All right, so we just gotta remember /L drive letter. All right, so edit auto exec.bat. And we're just gonna change this to /L:, G. And I think that's all we need to do. All right, so let's exit, yes, and reboot. All right, so this is super cool. For those of you that may not be familiar with Phil's thing that he set up here, you get all kinds of options for setting up what you want to do with your computer. If you, for some reason, you don't want to load a CD-ROM driver, or you only want conventional memory, or you only want extended or expanded memory, depending on the game or app that you're trying to run. Sometimes they can be sensitive to whether you're running extended or expanded memory. So most of the time, though, you can just let it time out or just hit 1, and it should detect the CD-ROM drive as G. And look, we've got a mouse driver. Hey, remember that? Remember the little block? You know what? Back in the day, I thought this was so cool. I mean, it works, right? Look at that. Ah, it's just so satisfying. Okay, so we are set up in that regard. So if I were to put in a CD, it should read it. And we'll just test it. So I've got the Windows 95 install disk here. We are not installing Windows 95 today. I don't want this video to be 3 hours long. That will be its own video. Got my super fancy 8x speed creative drive. I've had bad luck with creative drives. I'm glad this one works. Look at that. So good. All right, so we're gonna go back to C. Whoop. I really didn't want to put like a 52X or something like that in here. It just wouldn't be period. It would work, but it would be loud and way faster than this computer could even hope to handle anyway. All right, so we're just gonna install 2 games to round things up here. So we're gonna go to F, and let's go to installs. Okay, Ski Free is here, but it does not actually work on Windows 3.1 or DOS in particular. So which one should I install? These are all great games. I think we should just go ahead and stick with the classic. Oh, darn it. You know what I need to do? I need to install sound card drivers. We'll be right back. Prepared me, I actually already had the SB16 drivers installed. This just has a normal Sound Blaster 16 value something or other in it. It's nothing special. I've got an AW64 in my K62 build, which is a pure DOS machine. And that thing sounds amazing, and it's also a bit more powerful. So I opted for just a plain old boring Sound Blaster 16, as you saw when I built this computer. So let's go ahead and install the driver. If I can remember how to do this. Welcome to the Audio Driver Audio Software Installation Program. Enter to continue. Yep, system boot up drive. This all looks good. Hitting enter. Yeah, this installer is actually pretty slick and shockingly smart. It's basically just enter, 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 and hopefully it works. I actually had pretty bad luck with, I think, this sound card, or maybe it was one of my other Sound Blaster. I think it was a different Sound Blaster 16 that was one of the quote-unquote plug-and-play models. All right, so this is going to add a bunch of stuff to our carefully crafted Phil's Computer Lab auto exec bat and config sys, and if I remember correctly, this is not going to break anything, so we're just going to go ahead and hit enter. All right, adding lines to our config files. And it says we're ready to go. So we're gonna hit F10. All right, boom, look at that, Sound Blaster. Let's test it.
8-bit testing. 16-bit testing.
16-bit testing. With a echo effect for some reason.
16-bit testing.
Maybe he's in the bathroom. All right, enough of that. No copyright strikes. Okay, so we're not gonna save anything. We're just gonna quit out of here. And we're gonna go back to our F drive. Oh, that's right, I wanted to check mem, see how we're doing here. Using a whopping 22K conventional memory. Pretty great. And then our upper memory, we're using a total of 91 kilobytes. Awesome. Oh no, wait, that's total. We're using 35 kilobytes and we have 55 kilobytes free. And no reserved. And we're using 500K of our extended memory. Cool. All right. All right, in case anybody asks, I do legally own all of these games. Let's see. You know what? Let's just go with Doom 2. Run install.bat. We're going to install it on the C drive. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and do keyboard and mouse. And we're gonna do Sound Blaster 220, Sound Blaster 225, 8. And does this have like a test? No. All right, so we're gonna configure the keyboard while we're in here. I may have to change this again, but let's see. So move forward, W, move backward, S. Turn left is left. All right, let's see here. Strafe left is A, strafe right is B. All right, can't change that. Use the space because there's no jump, that's fine. Although I think I'm actually gonna change that to E because that's my muscle memory. And we're gonna hit F10. Do not hit escape here. I've done this so many times. Hit F10. All right, configure controller, mouse, fire weapon, move forward, strafe on. All right, I think that's okay. Unfortunately, I think moving the mouse forward and backwards still makes you move forward and backwards, which is a little annoying. I think there's a way to fix that, but I may be completely wrong there. I think it's like a mod or something like that. It's like hardwired in. All right, so we're going to save parameters and launch Doom. Bing, 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 bing. All right, and we escaped like giant sissy boys back to DOS. All right, so let's go back over to F. And we're gonna go back to here, go to demos, install one of my favorite games of all time. Oh goodness, this is just the demo because I have box copies of both of these games, and for the life of me, I can't flip and find them. Okay, we're gonna install this on the C drive. Normally I would actually put this on D. I'd put all my games on D and then have C basically be my OS drive, a few applications, things like that, put all my games on D since we have the space for it, but this installs just for the video anyway, so let's just go ahead and throw it there. So games Descent, create it, install Descent. Okay, setup utility. Let's see, auto detect sound hardware. This usually works. All right, let's test that digital sound.
7.
Whoa.
7. 7.
I wonder why they chose 7. If anybody knows why they say 7, please put it down in the comments. I would really love to know. All right, so that sounded correct. If I tilt the camera down slightly, you'll see I've just got a little speaker bar right here at the bottom. And that's what I use for testing and things like that. All right, let's test the music. Is that not just some of the most wonderful MIDI music that exists? It sounds amazing on the AW64 and the AW32 for that matter. Even better. I'm such a huge fan of the, especially the Descent 1 music. I love the Descent 2 music too, but the Descent 1 music is just some of my absolute all-time top shelf favorite. All right. And I think the settings are done in-game. Pretty sure they are. Oh, it's been a while. Let's see. Man, look at that descent.hog file. Remember when 2 megabytes was like, well, almost 5 megabytes total between the hog and the pig file. And you were like, geez, it's so much space. And now modern games, you install a game and it's like 50 gigs, 80 gigs. all looks good. Okay, we got mouse sensitivity turned all the way up. It may not actually be enough. Got detail set to highest. Customize keyboard. All right. Slide left, slide right. Accelerate, reverse. Slide up, I like to use spacebar. Slide down, I like to use shift, which seems odd, I know, but that's the way I roll. Slide up using C and slide down using space is another option. All right, we're not gonna bother with those. Those all look fine. Okay. Customize above, fire primary, fire secondary. All right, I think we may have to invert an axis. Do I have any demos? No. All right, better. All right, you guys have read this. You guys have seen this. If you haven't played Descent, you're missing out. Yep, looks like pitch needs to be, I think there's a way to, options menu. There we go. There we go. Invert yes. That's better. So, yeah. So this is decently playable. It's not above 30, except in this narrow hallway. But this is absolutely playable. I played this game on a much slower computer back in the day. Just remember shooting at the little lump of pixels a little too far away, but you know what? It works. It just works. And now, of course, I'm playing at a goofy angle so the camera can get a nice square view of the monitor. And I do have a CRT, but they are a pain in the neck to record because of refresh rates and things. Oh no! Looks like the sound broke. Well, that stinks. Well, it'll require some further tweaking, or maybe it's just the demo is just not too happy. But yeah, there we go. We've got a working 486 playing Descent, and this is with no level 2 cache at all. So I'm really hoping that this will be much more playable. Descent 2 is quite a slideshow on this system, so we'll be curious to see if that then becomes playable. Ah, that's some great music. I think I prefer the music on the second level in the first section of the game a little more than this level here, but good. I actually forgot to map these. Q and E is what I like to use for roll. By the way, if you haven't checked out a game called Overload, it was made by a good chunk of the original developers of Descent, and the guy that did the music for Descent Free Space also did the music for Overload. So really cool bit of history, and nice to see that those developers are still out there making awesome stuff. Yeah, I placed 8th. So what is that, out of 8? Oh, all right, sure. So order your copy today. Anyway, yeah, I think this is going to go ahead and conclude our 3-part series on this 486 build. I really hope you enjoyed it. I am certainly not the first person to build a 486 on YouTube, but hopefully you enjoyed my style, my talking style of building something. And there will be, like I said before, there will be more videos on this 486. We've got to install, we've got to walk through the process of installing Windows 3.1. We've got to walk through the process of installing Windows 95. I've got 2 VLB video cards, the Trident that's currently installed, plus a Cirrus Logic, kind of middle of the road Cirrus Logic that I picked up at the Vintage Computer Festival down in San Jose for 10 bucks. I think I got a pretty good deal on that, assuming it works. Of course, I've got that level 2 cache to install. We got to benchmark the system before and after. Again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Stay retro.